All right, we are live. This is Kitty Shambliss of Loving Without Boundaries, and I am super excited to be here for what I know is going to be an amazing interview with two of our rock star clients who have an amazing, transformational, inspiring story to share. And I want to thank both Bethany and Kris for being here and offering us your valuable time to have this conversation to help other people realize that if you all can go on this amazing journey and find the success that we're going to talk about, so can other people as well. So thank you so much for being here, first off.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'd love it if first you just, in your own words, whatever feels comfortable to you, just introduce yourselves to our Loving Without Boundaries community and anybody that is watching this either live or the recording later.
Great. Bethany's signaling for me to go first. So. Hi, my name's Kris. So a little bit about me. I am a transgender man. I'm queer identified for my sexuality. Been monogamous my whole life up until about a year ago. So I guess that's all I'll say about me. Bethany, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Bethany, and I am a cisgender queer woman. And Kris and I have been married for, I think this year, was it 18 years? Mm-hmm. This coming up in October. And so we've been together, it'll be like 20 years then. And have mainly been monogamous my whole life as well, up until about a year ago. And so we're excited to share our story. We live in the Midwest as well. So those are some of our various identifiers. Mm-hmm. And we have a kiddo.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of folks here can either relate to what you shared so far and what you're about to share too. And thank you for your vulnerability and just telling your beautiful story here with all of us. So my first question I'd like to start out with would be, where do you think you both were? How would you describe it? Like right before you initially reached out to me, what was going on in your relationship, in your lives, and what were some of the challenges that you were struggling with?
Yeah, so I would say for me, I was like on central nervous system high alert, to kind of crisis mode, in and out of it, because we had opened up our marriage for the first time about 3 months prior to reaching out to you, and had just a lot of hiccups. So we had done some research on our own, like, reading things, listening to podcasts, all of that before we really opened up. But honestly, we just weren't prepared. So I found you, Kitty, just through some Google searching, found your podcast and then your website, and that you had this coaching program. And again, like, was feeling very much like I was drowning and I needed a lifeline. So that's what prompted us to reach out. Do you want to add where you were at, Bethany?
Yeah, I kind of joke that we're on the Hot Mess Express and I was the conductor. But yeah, we had a really solid relationship, a really solid marriage. I'd say we had like hashtag relationship goals with our friend circle. And so while we did like some cursory research, I definitely feel I was naive and had some naivete about how much this would really change the dynamic between us, and how much support we would really need. Mm-hmm. And so that's what led us to Kitty. Yeah, I think while we thought we had I think we do have a strong relationship. Again, we just weren't ready for some of the pitfalls or some of the emotions or some of the things. Again, we're just a little naive to the whole process. And so that's why we reached out to you.
Mm-hmm. And refresh my memory, how long were you together and married at that point, roughly, when you first reached out?
That would have been like together 19 years, married
15,
16. 16.
Yeah.
So bad.
So bad we lost count.
We lost count. Yeah.
We lost count.
Yeah. But yeah, so we, like I said, had been monogamous our whole relationship.
Wow. Yeah. And in case it helps anybody to relate to your story, may I ask how old your kiddo is?
Yeah. So we have a 14-year-old.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot going on there too. So, and in terms of what you were struggling with, so I'm hearing the nervous system for you, Kris, just feeling on high alert, maybe big emotions. What else was it maybe affecting, like how you were communicating or anything else you'd like to describe about more specifically what you were struggling with?
For sure. So for me, I think definitely the communication. I was not, while I thought I was being a good communicator and sharing what I thought I should be sharing, I definitely wasn't. And I wasn't communicating, like I would say, at the right times in the right moment with the right information. And so that continued to cause Kris more hurt. And then that continued to cause me more shame. And so then it hindered my ability to be open and honest and communicative, because I felt so much shame about what I was feeling and thinking and doing, and the harm I felt that I was causing Kris, that it kind of like spiraled down that way. So that was what was happening on my side.
Yeah, and I think for me, a big piece of it was just like not really understanding my emotions and feelings I was having. So, like, kind of, just staying very surface level with myself, but not looking at like what was underneath that and what was really going on. And honestly, too, just, the whole opening up experience kind of just, raised some of my wounds from childhood and, highlighted some of those parts of myself that I honestly thought that I had kind of healed over time, but like creating this new dynamic in our relationship and opening up to have experiences with other people kind of stirred up a lot of that for me around, my identity, who I am as a trans person and a man, and just kind of some of the affirmation around that I was taking for granted in our monogamous relationship and probably really hadn't truly worked through. That I needed to.
Yeah. Thanks to both of you for just your vulnerability. And I love, of course, the self-awareness that you have now, because I'm sure back then you were just really confused. And I know, Bethany, you often just said, we're just a hot mess, and just meaning like also like, we don't even know what's going on. How do we solve this? So I really appreciate both of your vulnerability there. And again, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, myself included, in terms of learning to release shame around practicing consensual non-monogamy, and also thinking that we've healed all those wounds from our childhood, yet they still keep coming up. So that work is really powerful. I'm curious, what were some of the things that you tried to navigate through this prior to reaching out to me? Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, so we both are kind of like, if there's a issue or a problem we're trying to solve, like, let's learn as much as we can. So we really dug deep into everything we could get our hands on as far as, podcasts that are out there about consensual non-monogamy, reading books, reading blogs online, things like that. So we had tried to do our own research and dig in that way. And then we also were both in individual therapy and seeing a couples therapist at that point before we got signed up with your coaching program. And, therapy wasn't new to us. We've done it as a couple in the past, and we've also both individually done it. So it's something we were familiar with, but I think we just realized like, this isn't going to get us the results we're looking for as quickly as we need them. Cause like I said, I felt like I was drowning. Like I just needed a lifeline. I needed somebody to help me figure out how to like get my central nervous system back under control and to really figure out what was going on.
And I feel like we really needed concrete tools. Like, I think therapy is good for maybe, we're huge fans of the mental health, community, obviously. But I think it's a little bit more self-reflective and long-term. And I really needed like concrete tools. Like, what are things that we need to be assessing? What are things we need to be looking at? Where is this coming from? And we had some really dark moments, and Kris and and another thing I realized is we had such a solid relationship. We had actually never dealt with anything big between the two of us. Of course, we've dealt with big life things together, with families and friends and jobs, but we've never had consternation between the two of us. And that was so new. we'd always been able to approach challenges together, but when the challenges are between us, we didn't know how to do that. Because we'd always, I mean, I guess it's the curse of having a great relationship. I don't know. Like, we just never had to do that. We were always so solid. And so I think that was something we were struggling with, how we've never had the consternation between the two of us. How do we work through that? And how can we approach that as a team like we always have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really appreciate what you said there, and also both of your awareness to realize that you tried, you reached out and were looking at books and podcasts and this, that, and the other thing, but it wasn't really moving the needle the way that you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that there's some terms, like in terms of unconscious incompetence, like when you don't know what you don't know and you don't even know it at all. But I love what you're really saying is like there was that conscious incompetence. Like we realize we need some tools. We know, or we need to reach out somewhere. And so I appreciate your courage in doing the research, and Kris, you initially finding my work and reaching out. And certainly you two are definitely growth mindset type of people. But I'd love to ask the question, was there even a part of you that was either skeptical or unsure how going through this process here with my coaching program and that kind of immersive process, like if that was actually going to work? Did that ever come up, any skepticism?
Well, I think for us, I always think it's less about skepticism. So we have done, with our parenting journey, we had used a coach and had really good success with it.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so we had already had that really good, success story with coaching. So I think we're really, really open to it, but I think not, so I wasn't as much suspicious or skeptical as much as I know, am about anything. I think for us, there were times when I was like, again, we had never, ever, and I'm gonna be really honest, like we had never talked about breaking up. And sometimes we talked about that. And that was really, really scary. That was actually one of the most scary things for me. We had never, it was very destabilizing. And so I think what was helpful for us is just that we had somewhere to turn when we were having those really challenging moments. And we had a community that had also faced those challenges. I think it's like being a queer person. And I think that's also something as queer people we've learned is like, we have to find our community. It's not going to be out there in the wild. We have to build it intentionally. And that's the same with this community. You have to find your people that you can talk to and that will relate to you and that can help you through those tough times. I think it's very similar to that. We found that with this, with our parenting coaching group as well. They had children with similar challenges as ours. And you're just not going to find that in your neighborhood unless you're really lucky. And so I think that's a little bit more about why maybe we are a little bit more open to it, just because we've had these other experiences.
I will just add, like, I think when we first initially got started in the program, I did have a little skepticism, even though we had that very successful experience through the parenting coaching program. But, like I was in that crisis mode and I was like, okay, something's wrong between us. Like we need to fix this thing between us, when really, it's about what's going on in me, right? And so I did have a little bit of that skepticism, like, okay, is doing this work like on my mindfulness, like figuring out what I'm actually feeling in those moments and what those feelings are trying to tell me, and like relating that back to maybe wounds from childhood, whatever it is, like, is doing all that actually going to fix what's going on between us? Spoiler alert, it has helped tremendously. So, but that if there was any skepticism for me, that was kind of the piece of it. Is like, do I really need to do all this work on me? Like, isn't there something we need to be working on, between the two of us? So
yeah, I mean, it's so similar to our parenting journey, because that's the thing. Like, I think between us, we're like, well, if Kris would just do this thing, we'd be better. Or he was probably thinking if Bethany would just stop doing all this crazy stuff, then we would be fine. It's kind of like we looked at our kid and it was like, if our kid would just stop doing these behaviors. No, it was about us as parents and how we model them for them and our mindset, right? Like very similar. It's like, it's all the stuff that has to happen in here and then it's reflected outside of you.
I love that. Yeah. I really appreciate what you both shared there, starting with you, Kris. Just a lot of times people do come to do this work here with me because of a particular relationship, but they find that first, the most important relationship is the one that we have with ourselves. And once we get more grounded with that and get some clarity and aha moments with what we need to work on internally, then that also benefits our relationships. And also the coaching process that I built is it starts from the inside out, and then we give you the different communication tools as you go. And I also loved what you shared, Bethany. I started this whole community. It was back in December of 2012 when I was feeling very alone and I didn't have community. And I just thought, wait a minute, why don't I just create one? But it's so magical to think that decision I made all the way back then led to us talking today, you know, that whole journey that I went on so that I could build this community, put the kind of lighthouse spotlight out there to find folks like yourselves that are needing help. So thank you for sharing that. It was really beautiful. So I'd love to ask to help inspire folks too. Like, what would you say are some of the amazing or immediate results that you started to achieve, even if it was in the first few weeks or maybe in slightly beyond that? Whoever wants to share first.
Well, I think I also, because we are a queer couple, I do like want to pull out some of these pieces about how I think as a queer couple, we're also more primed maybe for learning, for recognizing, like we've had to recognize heteronormativity, for example, and how it's ingrained in us from a little kid, right? It's ingrained that you're gonna, you know, when you're a little girl, oh, do you have a little boyfriend when you're in preschool, right? And then who you're gonna go to the dances with and who you're gonna go, that's all ingrained. So we have heteronormativity is all around us all the time. And so when you become a queer person, you have to unlearn that, because it's just not, it's not going to suit you. It's not going to work. It doesn't fit on you. It doesn't fit you right. And so I think that's kind of the mindset also. I don't know if we brought that to the coaching program, but I think we had I feel like I had an aha moment. I think we've had those aha moments, like, and the same with monogamy. Like we have been ingrained and have all these things around us from a lifetime. And so having to unlearn that. So I think that was one of the aha moments, and how I was able to relate that back to like our queerness and our identity, and how we've already had to unlearn a lot of things. We've already had to like buck the system of every day. When we walk outside this house, we have to buck the system and put on armor and be who we are. And so just approaching that, I think taking that on was helpful for me as well.
Yeah, I think for me, some of the most immediate wins like definitely came in week 1 and 2. So just, you know, those first couple of weeks modules, and like any kind of coaching program or experience, you know, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So I was making a very conscious effort at that time to invest a lot of time in, you know, going through the materials and the modules, watching the videos, participating on the calls with the group. And I just immediately kind of like could sense, you know, that nervous system getting back more towards normal, not feeling on high alert the whole time. And definitely by like week 2 and 3, I wasn't drowning anymore. I was like, okay, I see a future, like how this can work. And, you know, I just need to put in some work now to get to that place.
Wow, that's really amazing that, you know, you have this beautiful marriage, everything's going swimmingly, then you open up and it's 3 months of, oh my God, this is a hot mess, right? Like start like, grasping at different things. And that's so amazing for me to hear. And I'm sure our listeners, just super inspiring, who may not know that this type of coaching is out there, that particularly for you, Kris, those shifts you saw just in the first like 3 weeks, that's remarkable. And it also, as you said, it really underscores how much work you both were putting in, your resilience. So I want to honor you both, because I'm giving you the pathway, I'm giving you the journey, but you're the one that has to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So just really appreciate you both giving it your all so that you could get those amazing results. And since you mentioned your nervous system, Kris, is there any particular thing that stood out to you in terms of helping your nervous system to calm down? Like, was some of it just feeling in a safe environment and feeling seen? And like you said, seeing how, okay, if these folks are figuring it out, I guess I can too. Was it that, or was there maybe some different skills that you learned right away that you felt were helpful with kind of calming that down?
Yeah, I think it really was a combination of all those things, Kitty. So definitely being part of a community of others who, are going through similar things, and seeing the different growth and progress that they had made, and also seeing, the things that they were still being challenged by. Honestly, like all of that just kind of normalized, like, okay,
Mm.
There's other humans that are having a similar experience.
Mhm.
They're kind of able to shift that in positive ways. And so I could see that ahead for myself as well. And then I do remember in those first few weeks, some of the specific tools that we get through the modules.
Mhm.
And like for me, it was kind of a reminder of things that I had done at prior points in my life that worked really well, right?
Mhm.
Like getting back to a routine. What am I going to do every day, even if it's in the shower for a minute, like for, mindfulness. So am I going to, I can focus on the shower, on the warm water on my head for those 20 seconds. That's some mindfulness, and just trying to consistently build in a routine. And as we progress throughout the weeks, adding new things, new ideas and skills that I hadn't thought of before, hadn't tried before,
Mhm.
was really a benefit too.
And I
Oh,
think
beautiful.
yeah, also and we have reminded that through our parenting journey, like looking for the wins,
Mm.
looking for where you're growing and we can always look to see where, oh, I'm not progressing this much, or I wish I was doing this. But you can see, like, look where we've come from, look where we're going. I think focusing on those wins. For me, I don't know. I don't feel like it's like I soak in the information. I don't immediately feel it until later. And so now over the last few months or after the modules, now I can see, I think about, are we on the battle of, are we on the field of battle? I'll say things like that. Or like, what is this serving? Is this serving me well right now? Like those little things, reminders in my head, and thinking back to some of those lessons that we learned. Yeah.
Mm. So awesome. And I love just illustrating that conditioning, that consistency. Like it's not just while you're in the core program, it's then applying it. Just like when we go to the gym, you've got to keep going to the gym in order to get the results. So really honor you both. And I'm curious, you mentioned the group Q&A calls. Some folks, you've touched on it, but some folks don't really understand how the combination of both one-on-one calls, like when we might be going over a communication tool together, like we actually just did recently, plus the group Q&A calls, how that all kind of works together to accelerate your results, and maybe how that's different than traditional talk therapy. Does anything come to mind that you think might be helpful for anybody listening?
Yeah, I mean, I know sometimes it might feel like a little too vulnerable to share in front of a group of people that you don't know yet, like what's going on for you, and what your challenges are and what you're struggling with. But it really is such a powerful experience to be in that setting, to have others who are going through similar things or have gone through similar things, to just validate, right? Like I was saying, I mean, I felt like, okay, there are humans that have navigated this and come out the other side, and I can too. And so I can remember so many group calls where, even listening to other people just share their experiences, I'm like, that's me. Like, I understand completely. We're having the same experiences. And so being able to share that with others is so powerful. And I feel like, it just kind of takes it to the next level, and probably is one reason why, we were able to see some results much more quickly than what we were seeing trying to just go to, therapy as a couple together.
Mhm.
And it sounds like this was a nice compliment as well to some of the other work that you were doing. Yeah.
And also sometimes if one of us had to miss a call, Kris would be like, oh my gosh, there's such a great discussion. You need to go back and listen to this discussion. And so you'd be like about 10 minutes in, or whatever. And so I would often go back and be like, oh, or he'd be like, oh, what they said resonates so much with me. And I think sometimes hearing someone else say something, sometimes you get so used to your partner. Not that like I don't listen to Kris, but when someone else says it, sometimes it hits differently or it lands differently. Or if you hear it through someone else's experience, you're just like able, like, oh, now I can see where he's coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really beautiful. So I'd love to just really honor both of you and anchor some of your successes, your wins, and inspire folks that are watching. So why don't you share with us a little bit more about where you are now? Like if you started out, what we talked about earlier, where would you say the two of you are? I mean, from the outside, having gotten to know you both, which has been such a beautiful and rewarding journey for me also as your coach, as your friend as well. You just seem so solid, so happy, and very vibrant as you continue to apply all the different things that you've learned. But I'd love to hear from both of you. How would you describe where you are today, given get like the ultimate result of all the work that we've done together?
Yeah, I think for me as an individual, like I feel like I'm just leaps and bounds beyond where I was a year ago. In my own kind of, again, understanding of myself and my feelings and my ability to express them. So for me, like that was one of the biggest growth, that I got out of this program was better communication, and especially with Bethany, but also other people, like just being able to voice, hey, this is what I'm feeling, or this is what I could really use right now, like a request, or this is what my need is around this. So I've just made tremendous growth in that. And so without this program, I definitely would not be in the place I am today. And I think for us as a couple, like, we are open. So practicing CNM. And I think we're kind of still like figuring out, where that's going and how it's going to work and all those pieces. But for me now, I know like that's just part of our journey as a couple. And that is going to change over time, probably like everything changes over time. But I feel like, I have a lot of great tools and resources and a community to help support through whatever those changes might look like.
So beautiful.
Yeah. Sometimes Kris and I talk about, we talk about like our old normal and new normal. And at some points in this journey, sometimes I'd say, do you just wish we'd go back to how we were? Do you wish you were like, and Kris is like, no, because that wasn't, awesome either. He's like, I want a new normal. And so I think about that a lot, and how we have like this new normal. Like we've opened and closed several times over the last year, just to be completely honest, giving ourselves breaks, kind of reevaluating where we are. But yeah, we're at a point now where we're open and just kind of figuring out what it's going to look like. I think now, and I've read a lot, if you've read anything about CNM or done your own research, people out there, like the first years can be a little tumultuous. And I think that we felt like, and maybe I did, like some kind of sense of urgency around it, which maybe caused some poor decision-making. But I feel like now we can take things a little bit slower. We have the tools to like really take things slower or to be more intentional. And just kind of figure out where we want to go.
So yeah, and I again appreciate your honesty and vulnerability that it's your journey and you get to honor your own autonomy. Like, hey, let's not open up right now. Let's do some healing work and make sure we're okay. And now let's make this bold decision to now open up. So I appreciate you just sharing that it's not a straight line, it can be a jagged line, but it's also, as you said, about noting your progress along the way, your wins, your aha moments. And I'd love to ask each of you, what would you say you're most proud of about this beautiful journey and where you've gotten yourself to by all this incredible work that you both have done?
You can go, Kris.
Okay.
I can.
I'd say again, for me, like I'm just really proud of myself for investing the time and work into this program and the other things we've been doing to support ourselves on this journey. And it's easy to not do that. Like it's easy to do the million other things that we have to do. We both own our own businesses. We have a 14-year-old. We've got robust family and friend that, there's like so many other things to do. But at the end of the day, like I knew that I needed to do something different, like drastically different, or things were just headed in a very bad direction. So I'm proud that, I invested the time and resources and commitment to this program.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think for us too, I mean, I sound so cliche, but I really do think like, I thought we had great communication skills, and we did compared to like mostly straight people, and sorry, you straight people, but we had really great communication skills. We'd had some adversity we'd had to go through, but I would say now, we have even better communication. I don't know. I feel like there's like we have a deeper level, or like I guess we have better ways of communicating with each other.
Mhm.
So that we can really be vulnerable and talk about what's on our hearts and what's in our soul, and learn, like, not get defensive or think like, where's this person coming? I don't know. It just has helped us through more of those challenging communication things. And that's what I really appreciated. I feel we've grown closer too.
Yeah. So beautiful. Well, it's been an honor to be your coach and to get to witness your transformation through this process, and beautiful to have this conversation with you so that I can celebrate right alongside you all of your hard work, the resilience, the grit that you both have illustrated by your commitment, like you said, to invest the time, the resources, the work, even while you're parents, you're running your own businesses, because you realize that your well-being, your happiness, your connection, your family is worth it, and so that you can also continue to color outside of the lines of heteronormative monogamy, keeps showing up with courage in your lives, and including even in this interview. So I really just want to say a big thank you to both of you, and just finally ask, would you recommend the coaching program through our process here at Loving Without Boundaries? Would you recommend that to anyone else who might be struggling on their consensually non-monogamous journey, or them really showing up as their most authentic selves, given your experience?
Oh, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. And I would say, even Kitty, to people who are not on a CNM journey, like your coaching program is just, so chock full of amazing things for any human on this planet. So wholeheartedly recommend.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I have also worked with people who are single, but they're struggling to get clear on their identity, or they want to lean more into sex positivity and figure that out for themselves. So thanks for saying that, Kris. I really appreciate that. Well, this has just been an amazing interview. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? Or maybe a question that I didn't ask, or any final words of either wisdom or inspiration for anybody that might be watching this live or the recording?
Well, I just want to thank you, Kitty, for creating this community and this program, and everyone that you work with to make it happen on a daily and weekly basis. Again, I know that took a tremendous leap of faith on your part, and a lot of time and commitment and work and effort and money and all of that. So really appreciate it. And I just want to say, kind of like a sneak peek in the program. So part of it is you create your own superhero. So you create the name, the kind of identity, like what the qualities, characteristics are of your superhero. And so it's at least a few times a week now, I'm thinking about my superhero, like calling forth my superhero, like what would fearless free guy do in this situation? And so that's just something I think that's gonna, it's gonna be there forever. It's such a good part of that program.
Thank you so much. Anything you wanted to add, Bethany? It's okay if not, but I just want to check
Well, I
in.
was gonna say, I totally agree with what Kris said. Yeah, just those little snippets that kind of stick with you. Bring the data, not the drama. Like, we have all these little things that we remind ourselves of that we learned from Kitty.
Oh, that's so amazing. And I learned some of those things from my coaches. I definitely believe if you're going to be a great coach, you need to have great coaches, which this whole program wouldn't exist if I didn't invest in myself and believe and have passion for this community that we have created together, that you two are now a member of and part of our broader family. And it is such an honor to have you here and to have this beautiful conversation that I really does hope inspire a lot of people who get the opportunity to watch. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart for taking time out of your busy schedules to have this beautiful conversation with me. So just really appreciate both of you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So with that, we will sign off. If anybody's watching this who is not a part of our community, and I did forget to just say, if any of this is resonating with you and you want to reach out for help, it all starts with an initial call. That's exactly what Bethany and Kris did. They went ahead and went to that link that's up on the screen right now. It's lovingwithoutboundaries.com. /apply. All that does is just take you into my calendar. Just find a time that works for you, and that'll be opened up in my calendar as well. There'll be a very brief form for you to fill out that just gives me a little bit of context for our conversation. And then we'll jump on that call and see what you're struggling with, see if we are a fit to work together, and if now is a good time to start that journey. And if it's not a fit or it's not the right time, you have my word that I will let you know that from the bottom of my heart. This work is all about integrity and building trust and building community, as you've really heard from Bethany and Kris today. So if that's you, feel free to go to that link today or at some other time in the future when you are needing help. And with that, I will just say thank you again, Kris and Bethany, for your time. And until the next live that we do, we will see you then. Take care, everybody.
Bye.